Good.
Okay, can we
Oh,
see it?
wow.
Everybody see it?
Oh, the great
Okay.
picture.
Okay, thank you. The village that we're going to be talking about tonight is called Solgol. That's, as you all recognize, a pure Korean word. Sol means solamu, which means pine tree, and gol means a place or a mountain village. A mountain. It means a village, really, in this sense. And we're going to be talking about a village called Songdongni, officially, or Solgol, is what the local people call it, and it's in Chungcheongbuk-do. And we will now begin to look at some of the slides. So this gives you a view from across the river, looking down from a hill into the village. And can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, you'll notice that there's a river, actually a little more than a stream, although that can change, as you will see very, very shortly. And then the village itself consists of two neighborhoods or hamlets. And as in so many things in Korea, when they're trying to differentiate between two different things, they represent one as and another as yang, yin and yang, the male and the female principle. That's it's on the Korean flag as well, as everybody knows. So the village is divided into two hamlets, Yangji, Yangjimal, which is the yang part, and that's the one closest to the river, and you can see that on your right. And then Umji, which is on the left, about 3/4 of the way up the screen. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's.
What's the one near the river?
What? Well, that's just sort of I'm sorry. That's part of Yangji. You know,
Okay.
Yangji. Most of all of the hamlets are concentrated, as you can see, but there are some outlying houses and small neighborhoods that are sort of attached to Yangji or Umji, but they kind of stand alone. But everybody recognizes them as being part of the village of either Yangji or Umji. Here we are. Actually, we're not looking into the village now. We're standing on the riverbank, looking across the river to the other side. That's another village along the road that runs between the market town of Kwesan. The village is in Kwesan-gun, and we're looking across the river, and the road that you see that runs along that wall at the top of the picture. That's the main drag between Kwesan and the Myeon, to which these villages belong. And you see that this bridge is not exactly the Golden Gate. It has some structural differences.
Minimally.
It would not support a vehicle, let alone a cow, or any kind of even more than maybe 3 human beings at a time, depending on the size of the human beings.
Like
What does support it?
What's that?
What does support it? What's under it? It looks like it's kind of earthen on the top. What's under it?
Well, it's sticks that are cut down from local vegetation that are planted into the riverbank, and then some sticks and a straw kind of under surface, and then covered again with straw to give it that extra oomph. As often as not, certainly, well, a number of things about this bridge. First of all, it's not in use it's down completely during the winter months. This bridge is not used in the winter months, and during the warmer parts of the year, I would say it's not available for use about 50% of the time. So the bridge is not exactly reliable, and in order to get into the village, the best way is really to use the old roll up your trousers technique. And that's the one to which we normally resorted. Every spring, the young men of the village would come down and they would put this thing back together again and hope that it would last maybe a week or two before
It was dismantled over the winter or just removed?
It's just taken down because,
Not dismantled.
it would dismantle. Well,
It's dismantled.
yeah, well, exactly. The parts are not exactly
Okay.
something that you would put into a box and put on the shelf.
Was the river freeze, Charlie?
You could order, it's expendable enough that you could order a new one every year from Amazon.
Okay.
So, so let's take a look to, okay, so what do you think this is?
Same river.
That is correct. I don't know who said that, but
Bobby, I think.
I
but
think a lot of people did.
that's right, and it looks very, very similar, doesn't it?
No,
It looks enormous.
It looks like it looks like the Mississippi,
It
and
looks like the river down the road from me here.
it is the same body of water that we were just looking at just now. It's the same one, and so as you might guess, the bridge is nowhere to be seen, and as well as some of the villagers. The water has, during time of storm, during the rainy season, it can become quite, we have a current here, as you can see the white water. And so the village is not exactly the most accessible of the villages in Quezon County. And it does present problems for the villagers going into the market town to shop and also to sell their produce and other items.
Do they
So,
have boats or anything?
well, there is a ferry
Oh,
that upstream that goes back and forth, and that is used quite a good deal. And then there's a circuitous way, kind of roundabout way, which is adds maybe, I don't know, 10 miles at least to the trip that would take you through the local Myeon Center, and you can come into the village or out of it from that route. But the easiest way is to cross this body of water when it is fordable, which obviously it is not now. Let's see.
There's a question from Ned.
Ned. From Ned.
Yes, Ned.
why did you choose this village? He asked.
Quank and I did some reconnoitering in a number of different provinces, in Chalabukto as well. We went to Chunbuk. Well, actually, the only places we went were Chunbuk and Chungbuk. Isn't that right, Quank? I was looking particularly for villages that had a complete record, a record of land usage, land surveys that went back to the close of the 19th century, even preceding the annexation of Korea by Japan. So we're talking going back to the 1890s. And I was very interested in understanding the economic changes that had occurred over that period of time. And during the Korean War, as you know, during the turmoil of that time, many of the records that were held at the Gun level or at the Myeon level were destroyed, were burned. And so it was difficult to find a village that had extant records that dated back that far. And I spoke with a number of people who were knowledgeable about these kinds of resources, and they suggested that I look in Chungcheongbukdo because there were a number of areas in Chungcheongbukdo that this person was pretty sure would have what I was looking for. So we kind of tracked this place down for that reason. Also, household registers that dated back actually also to the 19th century, which I was also looking for. So we looked at a couple of places, and this was one that seemed like it would fill the bill. So that's the answer to your question, Ned.
It's Ned's question.
I said Ned.
Ned.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes, I did. Okay. So shall we move forward? I'm trying to figure out how to make this so I don't have to keep going back. Okay.
Wow.
Oh no, we are going forward. Okay, wait. No, that's not working. Bear with me here. I'm not. I don't know why it. We'll get this to work. Fear not.
Random order. Don't check that one.
Let's try it this way. Good. Okay, that's going to work. Okay, and let's stop that. So here's a view of the village of Yangji. You remember we talked about the Yangji hamlet. And this is the one that was closest to the river. This is, we couldn't get a complete panoramic view, but you can see that this is a large cluster of houses. So that's Yangji. Oh dear. And let's keep going.
Mike wants to know if these are from 1970.
These are all from 1973 and 1974. Here's another view of Yangji in the wintertime. You can see that there's a stand of mulberry bushes here up in the front. And this is actually, it's quite lovely in the wintertime. Looks like it comes from a painting almost. I think you agree. Another view of Yangji.
The slope of the roof, especially in the middle toward the back, that just kind of enhances the whole paintingness of it.
Okay, and here is Umji. Get a little better panorama of Umji than of Yangji, just because of where I could position myself to take the shot. There's one thing about Umji that's rather distinctive that makes it different from Yangji. What do you suppose that is? Just looking at this picture. Anybody have an idea?
Prone to
Metal
flood.
roof, tobacco.
It's more
Is that
prosperous.
tobacco?
It's more prosperous.
Actually, it's not at all, not at all. They're both about equally unprosperous.
It's lower down. So it must be.
On lower ground?
Yeah.
Maybe so, but that's not really the
That's
answer
not your
that I'm
point,
looking for.
okay.
It's something that you could tell by just looking at this picture.
The roofs are all.
The roof.
No.
Oh, boy.
Got it yet?
Oh, electricity. Electricity.
No.
Both have
Town
electric.
had them too.
No?
Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop you from humiliating yourself. And
You,
Tobacco barns.
What?
Tobacco being grown.
Tobacco.
Ed, you
I
got it.
said that much earlier.
Diane said it first.
Okay, you notice that there are a number of structures in this cluster of houses that are higher than the others. You can see them, that
Yeah.
From
they,
smoking tobacco.
and those are tobacco drying sheds. So the hamlet of the Umji, excuse me, it had one of its major agricultural pursuits is the cultivation of tobacco. And
Charlie.
the fields that you see right in front here, like in this here on the lower right, this is all tobacco.
Charlie, any idea why they were originally designated as Uminyang?
It's just a natural way of dividing up the universe, isn't it? You've got two. I think it is. You've got two different things. You've got a man and a woman. You've got black and white. You've got up and down. And when you've got that kind of binary phenomenon, you label them Yin and Yang. I mean, it's the most natural thing in the world.
Right, but yang is sometimes or often superior. That's why I asked.
Well,
Almost always, in fact.
That's a male perspective.
certainly the people who live in Yangtze would go along with that. They would agree with that. But the people who live in Umji would not agree with that. They would say it's the other way around. So that's not something that everyone would subscribe to. Of course, there are many philosophical and cosmological connotations of yin and yang. I mean, it's integral to Chinese philosophy and cosmology, but we're not talking highfalutin stuff here. We're just talking about names, and how to differentiate between two different locations. So,
What month is this, Charlie?
I'm sorry,
What month
what
are we in?
what month are we in? I
Yeah.
think we're December.
I'm talking about the picture.
I don't know exactly. I mean, it's
Oh, for God's sakes.
But the
You're
tobacco
gonna
is
have
growing.
Right.
The
A
tobacco is
question
growing.
about the
Yeah.
damn tobacco. We should know what month it is.
Ed, you got me. Okay, yes, you're right. I should be able to tell. Judging by the growth of the tobacco, I would say we're probably into maybe May, somewhere along there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good point.
So is the tobacco hung to dried? Is it just air dry? Was there any?
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Okay.
Harley, how were the forests, the hills? Were they well forested by now?
Well, I'm going to come to that momentarily.
All right. Thank you.
A good thing
I'm
that
ahead of the game.
we are. You're really right on point. Okay, so we already saw that. Now, come on. I gotta get this thing. I'm sorry that this is not trying to get this to, here we go. Here's another view of Umji. You can see the tobacco. Whoops. I don't have as much control over this as I would.
Going back to your 5-second request.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it on 20 seconds or something.
Mhm.
So you see that some of the sheds on the right, you see that there's a tobacco shed, but that's a little bit different. That's sort of old style, and it's thatch roof, and the whole structure is made of straw, just like an old-fashioned structure would be. Most of them are kind of, mud structures. And here's some ladies from the village who are congregating on the road and having a little bit of gossip. I can't tell you, Ned, I can't, who Ed, was it you who asked about what month it was?
Yeah, I'm looking at those plants. Those aren't.
Ed, if you ask me what they're talking about, I won't be able to tell you.
No. I'm just plants.
You, Charlie.
Sorry about that.
Would they have been talking about something different in December than in May?
It looks like they're very strict on that particular day. Were they going to a festival or something?
And how did you know they were gossiping?
No, it's
Well,
a-
that's what they do. I mean,
one
what
day.
else, what else would they be doing, you know?
One day. in
Jerk, you are.
Okay, and here's a picture you probably recognize of some of the village fields. The village has both dry and wet fields, a lot more dry than wet. But here is a concentration of paddy fields, rice fields. And everybody has certainly seen those. So this
Are we
was-
gonna see these later in the
See that?
your later visitation? Are we gonna see these same fields? Have they squared them off?
We'll see some pictures from later on, but you're getting ahead of the game here.
I know,
Um, So
know what to look for.
I'm going to ask that you be patient.
If that's the same stream that
You
went.
send me to the principal's office if I'm.
Yes.
Well, if you continue in this vein, yes, I'm going to have to ask that you leave.
Just sit out in the corridor.
Here, I think it was Richard who was asking about the use of the of the hills and the mountains. This is really, excuse me, this is a mountain village, and there's not a lot of good arable land that's flat. Most of it is going up into the hills, and this is a good example of how the land is terraced and trying to make use of every bit of land they possibly can for agriculture. Okay.
Charlie, how far were these villages from Chunju? Can you
From
know?
Chungju, well, by bus, about an hour and a half from Chungju. It was closer to Cheongju, which is the capital.
Charlie, my village.
About situated all about halfway between the two. Those are the two largest cities in the province, and it's about halfway between those two.
Charlie, the only trees that my village had that were anything like those were sacred trees. Those are amazing trees.
Yeah, well, I guess in that respect, this village is more, lusher than the one that you were in, Griff.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of trees up into the hills. It is heavily forested in places. Let's go on. This is one of the milestone locations in the village. It's a mountain that is behind the village, and you can see it from just about anywhere you are. It's called Kunja-san, and Kunja-san is a holy mountain. Kunja-san is a place where people come from from all over the country, although not a lot, because it's kind of remote and it's not known by everybody, except to those sort of people who are knowledgeable about important Buddhist sites in Korea. Kunja-san dates back to the Shilla dynasty in its fame. It is said that it was in Kunja-san that the great monk Wanhyo Tesa from the Shilla dynasty came to meditate and spend, I don't know how long, maybe a year or two. He lived here in a hut in Kunja-san. So if for no other reason, this would be a highly respected place.
Charlie, in that last picture, the vegetation, whatever on the side of the hill, is that trees? Is it grass? Is it shrub?
Yeah, it's sort of brush. Most of it, it's kind of low. It's kind of, it's not really trees. It's
Okay.
more like brush,
Yeah.
Here's a typical picture looking down from a hillside, and you can see that there's a bit of straw. That the roofs in the village are, I would say, at the time we were there, what's your recollection? I would say about half of them were chogajit, straw roof houses, and the other half were something else. Could be tile, could be some kind, could be metal. So that was kind of, is that your recollection, Kwok, about that? About half and half?
Might one was recommended by the government.
Yes.
As part of 새마을 운동.
Right. Well, that's correct. And I was going to actually talk about that, but Kwok anticipated. This was a period of time when the Sämaal Undong, the New Village Movement, which was a major effort by Park Chung-hee and his government to reform village life and to improve village life. And there's a lot to be said about that. It's not all positive, but there was the Sämaal Undong at the time that we were living here had been in operation for about a year, maybe a little over a year. So it was still rather new. And as Kwok points out, the government was very, very strict, very adamant that all houses should be converted to some more permanent material than thatch. Thatch was thought to be, not as healthy, not as, and obviously it is not as, doesn't have the lasting power, not as durable. But the other thing, and I think equally important, if not more important, was the image. The image of having these backward rural areas with just thatch roofed houses was not something that President Park liked to entertain. And he was very, very fixed in that, it's like, you want to put up a good front, and you don't want people to think that you're a backward country. So you want to get rid of all these thatch roof houses. So there was pressure on the local people to replace their thatched houses with other materials. However, it's not cheap. And the people that lived in Solgo were not wealthy people. Most of them actually were quite poor. And replacing a thatched roof house is a major undertaking, both financially and in terms of the amount of labor that it requires. So this was something that people did not, that most people did not appreciate and resisted. And certainly during the time we were there were many, not most, but many, probably about half. With that truth.
But the insulation is good.
Yeah,
And
I agree. I agree.
That's the trouble is they burn down sometimes.
Well, that is a problem, is it not? And also they need to be maintained, and maintenance of these structures is very demanding because you can't just leave them be. They'll fall apart. They'll develop leaks and they'll start to rot. And Bobby Shirk, who is here with us, can talk more expertly about thatch, having written a book about it. If she would like to throw in her 2 cents, she's welcome to do so.
Okay, I haven't written the book. I've translated somebody else.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I've done research on my own. However, if I understand correctly, Koreans thatched with rice straw. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay, because rice straw doesn't hold up at all. This is a big difference from thatch in Japan.
Okay.
We don't thatch with rice straw.
Yes.
Not on the outside.
Okay. Bobby, by the way, I should say for those of you who are not aware of this, is with us from Tokyo, and she's been living there for many years and translated a book in Japanese, from Japanese into English, that is about Japanese thatch. Okay, let's go on.
Actually.
Okay, we're back in Yangji village again, and sort of at the entrance when you come up, you cross that river that we look at and come down the path, the first thing that you will come to is this tree. Anybody know what kind of tree this is?
Polonia.
No.
Oh, darn.
Any other guesses? I'll give you a hint. The Korean name is Nutinamu. Nutinamu. Does that help?
What is it in
Nook-
America?
And actually Nutinamu, the county, the gun that Songdongni is in, is Kwesan County. Kwe. And Kwe means Nutinamu. So that is an even stronger hint, and you probably all know what it is now. It's a Zelkova tree, for heaven's sake.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
And this is an ancient tree, and it is a very holy tree. And there, everybody knows, and you will soon know yourself, that one of the reasons that you don't want to mess with a Zelkova tree. You have to treat it with great respect. You don't want to use its wood. You don't want to chop into it. You don't want to injure it in any way, because underneath the roots of a Zelkova tree, of every Nutinamu, there lives a dragon.
Aha.
A solitary sleeping dragon has its lair at the base of every Nutinamu. And if you mess with its home, the dragon will not appreciate it. For a long time, there were two big Nutinamu in our village. One you're looking at right now in Yangji, and there was another one in Umji. It was not there when I was there. It had been chopped down maybe 50 years or so prior to our living there. And it was on a property belonging to three Kim brothers. And they got it into their heads that they would like to make some money off of the wood. It's very good wood and very highly treasured. Get a good price for it. So these Kim brothers decided that they would chop down the tree and cut it into logs and sell it, which they did, and they made a good profit on it. However, about a month or so after they did this, the older brother fell grievously ill. And before too long, he was dead. And then not too long after that, the second brother was walking along a path in the village, well, near the village, somewhat high, mountain path, and slipped and fell and dashed his head on a rock and was found dead. And so that wasn't so good. And then a little while after that, the third brother, the youngest brother, also fell ill and died. And this all happened within the space of a few months. How to explain it? Well, we know what the explanation is. It's very simple, and there's no more to be said. So needless to say, nobody messes with this tree.
I thought dragons were like positive figures in Korea.
Well, they are positive, but if you get on their bad side, and they're not necessarily, the expression "let sleeping dogs lie."
Let sleeping dragons.
It's the same sort of thing. So now you know. So if in the future you are in a situation where you might be asked to cut down a Nutinamu,
Charlie,
I would
I think
really think twice about it if I were you.
are those kids wearing Sema Lundong hats?
Maybe, I don't know.
I
Right.
think
they're wearing green hats.
Yeah, I think that was the official.
Yeah, I think it probably
I think
is.
you're right.
Charlie, what were the plants in front of the kids? Are those onions?
Uh, yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Or garlic.
Garlic.
Garlic?
Yeah,
Garlic, okay.
yeah.
Close.
No,
Okay.
it's during the occupation, the Japanese occupation. They were caught between, a double bind. People would cut down the trees because of the
Well,
need
of course, but even so,
to,
you need to be cautious,
Didn't they suggest that the Japanese cut it down?
No, that's not what happened. It was the three Kim
Well,
brothers.
they should have, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and then they would have been the ones to take the
To
punishment.
suffer the.
Well, they lost the war.
Let's go on. Let's go on.
And
Okay.
can I mention that in the village I studied, right at the pass coming into the village, there was a big tree, and they did a ceremony at the beginning of the year to the mountain god there, and then they took a cow's head, split it into two, and made the offering in front of that tree, sacred tree, and divided it into the yin and yang sides, and everybody ate a little bit of it
Mhm.
raw. And right at this tree also, this was a sacred time of year when they made offerings to this mountain spirit in the name of everybody living in the village, no matter who, including the anthropologist. And right at this tree, also when most people came into the village, they would put a rock onto the pile of rocks next to the tree that grew up. So.
Griff, I think I've read your article more
Yeah.
recently than you have. And this is the part that they did in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
I think wasn't the tree to an earth spirit, where,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
As we all know, we learned in Hawaii at our training, Korea, when asked, what is the religion of Korea, the first thing that would always come up was animism.
Well, I was going to ask, was the mountain god an animistic god?
Yes. There's a very, and of course it goes back to the to a prehistory in Korea, these animistic beliefs, and continues on to this day. And there's no question but that the kind of thing that Griff is talking about, the kind of thing that I'm talking about, trees are sacred. I mean, it's just as simple as that. As
In one of my classes,
mountains are sacred. Natural features in the environment are sacred, and they have spirits associated with them. And people need to keep those spirits happy. They pray to those spirits for relief from illnesses, to have a child, to have a son born, whatever it might be. So this is a very active part of life, everyday life in the village. I don't know that it is right now. I suspect that there's still some of that, although much less than there was.
in one of my classes, we're still reading Griff's article. So Griff, you've achieved, quasi immortality.
And also Griff is one of those animistic spirits that the villagers are, think about.
The dragons alone.
I live under a tree.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go on, unless somebody has something more to say. Because I want to get us further into Yangjimao. And where we are here is looking up one of the paths that runs through the village and up into the clusters of houses. And this particular path, you'll see that white house at the top there. That's where we lived. That's our house. Oh, there it is. You see it has a tile roof on the main building. And that's where Julie and I hung out. And then beside it, there's an outbuilding which has a thatch roof. And that's where Kwok had his office and his luxury suite. In the front, you'll see a pump, which had been there for not that long, really. It was a well. It was originally, there was a well there for ever, but they put a pump in so to make it easier to get water, and that was the source of our water, and it was shared with all of our neighbors. So this was a kind of communal water source. And this is our kitchen. Typical Korean kitchen. The one thing that is not so typical that you wouldn't find in, actually our kitchen was different from every other kitchen in the village. Can you see why? What is it about this kitchen?
Gas stove.
No.
Well organized.
There are plenty of gas stoves in the village.
It's got a floor.
No, there is no, this is a dirt floor.
Oh, okay.
Can't tell how high the counter is. You have a regular Western height counter?
No, these are all really good guesses, but
You have a Cuisinart.
Yes. No, that's not right either.
Got some bourbon in the back of the other bottle.
I'll tell you.
Is that an oven on the left?
Ed, you've got it. By George, you've got it. Okay.
We had an oven like that in Seoul.
Okay. So Ed knows what he's looking at here. Some months into our stay in the village, Julie and Kwok and I took a trip to Daejeon, and we spent some time looking around in the market. And one of our acquisitions was a tin stove, which is basically a box with some holes in it and a door. Well, you can't see the door. It's on the right-hand side. And what you do is you open the door and you stick whatever you're going to bake or cook in there, and it's a stove and or an oven. We used it as an oven, and we used it to bake bread. Julie became an expert baker. We got really tired of Korean, of the same thing every morning for breakfast, typical Korean breakfast, rice or some sort of grain, often not rice, with some vegetables, kimchi, maybe some bean sprout soup. That was about it. And we all became pretty tired of that fare. And so we acquired this oven, and Julie learned how to bake bread in it. And it was the best bread you ever tasted.
We had a stove
I'll
very
bet it
similar
was.
to that. The year that we lived on our own.
And the smells coming from the kitchen were heavenly when Julie was making bread.
When we were no longer using our oven, our Korean father converted it to a doghouse.
Well, that's handy, because when they wanted to have some dog meat.
The family did not eat dog meat, at least not at home.
I see. Okay, well, I stand corrected. All right, another view of our pump, which was very handy.
Charlie, can I ask, did you ever see them eat dog meat in your village?
Well, people certainly did. Yes. We had some dogs. We did have some dogs in the village, and some dogs met their end for purposes of feeding.
Yeah, I saw that, but very rarely.
Yeah, it happened, usually, on special occasions, but especially, they call them the dog days, during the hot days of summer. That's when dog meat is particularly relished, and you make pochintang, which is actually pretty good, I think. And so some of the dogs in the village would disappear in the summertime. It's too bad for Doku, you know, and Medi and Judy and, you know, those people. Here we have one of the shrines in the village in Yangjimao. This is an ancestral shrine commemorating the apical ancestor, that is to say, the first settler in the village from the Song lineage, Song, and the first person to arrive in Zhongdongni back toward the end of the 16th century was a man named Song. Actually, he was a man named Hong, but the Song who was married into the Hong family came a little later. And this is called a sadang. And this sadang was built to commemorate this ancestor. And if you walked in, you would see there's a tablet honoring or commemorating the Song grandfather.
Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie, I'd like to ask, is this lineage dominant in the village? And what percent of the village belong to this lineage?
It's not exactly dominant. The village, the history of the village really shows that there were three lineages that settled the village in fairly close proximity to one another. The Songs being one.
All Yangban?
Well, this is a whole other subject that we can discuss later on. The Songs being one, the Kims, the Changyong Songshi, the Gwangsang Kimshi. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the Pongguan of these different lineages, and the Hong. Oh no, I'm blanking. Oh, what's the Hong?
Namyang Hongshi.
Namyang Hongshi. So those were the three. So there were three dominant, if you want to say that. I would say that's a fair word to use. Dominant lineages. Their history in the village goes back to the 16th century, and you can track it. You can look at the genealogies. You can look at the land. You remember I was talking about land registers, household registers. You can track it, and you can see what percentage of the population were composed of at any given time from, not so much from the 16th century, coming into the 19th century. From the time of that late 19th century, when they had these extant hojak, the household registers and land registers, you could track it and you could see, who lives there. And certainly these three lineages were predominant, but they were by no means the only families in the village. I would say a good, maybe up to a third of the people living in the village did not belong to any of these lineages. Many of them were affiliated with the village by marriage and came to the village by virtue of being married to a villager. Okay?
Okay.
Here's one more shrine, again located in Yangjimao, and this is called a Yalyamun. Anybody know what a Yalyamun is?
Is that the one to the virtuous women?
That is correct, Frank. That's exactly what it is. It's a shrine to a filial, a virtuous woman. And this is, in all cases, these are women who went above and beyond the call of duty.
And did not remarry.
Well, needless to say, that is certainly, but often it went a little further beyond that. In many instances, not just not remarrying, but a whole lot more besides. And this is a shrine to a woman who was who was married, I should say, to a member of the Hong lineage. And this is probably going back to around, if I'm not mistaken, the 17th century, maybe the 18th century. And one fine day, her husband, Mr. Hong, went up into the mountains to gather some wood for cooking, and he didn't return. It became dark out, and there was no sign of him. Nothing. He just didn't come back. And Mrs. Hong decided that she would go looking for him. So she went up into the hills, and what did she discover? But that a tiger had come out of the forest and had attacked her husband and had started dragging her husband off to wherever it wanted to go to make a start of a nice meal of him that would last for a while. So at this time, the husband was still alive, although bleeding profusely. The tiger had bitten out a big chunk of his leg. And anyway, Mrs. Hong saw what had happened, and she took some sticks and some stones and whatever she could find, and was actually able to scare the tiger away. And got a hold of her husband and dragged him down the mountain back to their house and put him to rest, and did the best she could to bind up his wounds, and then nursed him back to good health. And one of the main things that she did in order to give him the kind of nourishment that he would need to recover, was she cut slices of flesh from her thigh and fed it to him over a period of months. And this, my friends, is a
Virtuous.
woman. This is a virtuous woman.
Certainly was.
The bar was very high.
So the bar is high. You got it, Frank. So if you think that you know a virtuous woman, think again.
Charlie, may I, it's just about the hour. Shall we make a decision about whether
We have a lot more to go.
Why
Yeah, I
don't we
know.
do it
So,
next time?
right, but what I want to ask is, should we just continue for the whole hour and a half, or should we have a breakout session and then pick it up again our next meeting?
Continue, please.
Why don't we continue?
Okay. If that's the.
I'd agree with that.
Do we have
Okay.
something planned for next time?
We have not definite. It's not definite.
How much, do you have enough left to do another hour?
Oh, I have probably 2 more sessions to go.
Oh.
I haven't been as judicious as maybe I should be in going through these slides. So I've just been sort of, letting my own loquacity take its course.
No, this has been very, very interesting.
So shall I continue?
Yes. I'm glad to do a breakout, but we can continue.
Okay, well, let's continue.
If you're not going to get finished by continuing.
I will not. Not today, unless you want to stick around for another couple of hours.
No, but
that's what I was suggesting. We could have a breakout room and then just pick it up
again next week, next
the
time.
2 weeks later. Yeah.
We can do it that way. We can do it that way, but chances are we won't finish then either.
That's all right.
It's up to you. If you would like to go into breakout rooms, that's fine. If you would like to just continue with the presentation, that's fine too. It's up to you.
Well, I might change on that, to do a breakout and then do this again. We can talk about that also in the breakout if we wish. I'd heard an interesting article in the New Yorker about Free Chosun, and that is something I would like to talk with anybody about who may have read Same one.
Okay.
Relative to
How do other people feel?
Just a quick question. We have Qual Oak and we have Oakville here. Will they join us again in 2 weeks?
Yeah, actually, that's a good thought. I don't know whether they'll be able to join us the next time. So it makes a lot of sense to take advantage of their being with us
Yeah.
while they
I
are.
agree. Yeah.
Agreed.
Let's continue.
Okay,
It's worth I vote to continue. It looks to me like, Charlie, you're on number 20 out of 160, so we have plenty to go.
yeah, okay, well, it's good to know that we're moving right along.
All right, good. But Charlie, you may want to edit them so we can get through it next time.
Oh, I love them all.
I'm good. This is fascinating.
It is.
Agreed.
All right, well, let's continue.
I remember this area. I do remember this area. This kind of the coons nearby where I live. Brings
So
back-
let's look at this picture. The reason I'm showing it is not because there's anything particularly special about it. It's a very typical chogajip.
Charlie, I think I've lost your photo. I see the Dear Pyongyang documentary. I can't see the photos anymore.
Is that
You see the photo.
I see
We
the
do
I
photo.
can see the photos.
I see photos.
Just you, Frank.
Just me.
Ah.
Okay.
We see the
you have to click the X out of the documentary. That keeps popping up here too, but then we just click the X and it brings it back to the picture.
okay? Shall we continue?
Yes.
Okay, the reason I put this picture up, because it's a very typical scene anywhere you go, not now, but it was in those days in the 1970s and, for
In
hundreds of
60s,
years.
yeah.
In the 60s, yeah.
We might be looking at a scene from some time in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Or this we can't tell from just looking at this what the vintage of this scene is. It could be hundreds of years old. That's how much things have changed during the course of the many centuries that preceded our time in the village. So this is a very typical traditional Korean home. When those of you who went back on the revisits, one of the revisits, probably most of you did that. You'll recall, I think one of the places, I know a number of the visits did that. Mine certainly did. We went to the Korean folk history village in Incheon, Suwon, out of Suwon. And I think that's a wonderful place. And one of the things they had there was they had reconstructed typical Korean houses. And they had one exactly like this. Of course, the way the structure of the houses, the architecture, every region of the country has its own little differences. Don't ask me what they are. I'm not knowledgeable about that, but this is a pretty typical house, village house.
What is the animal in the background right underneath the roof?
What is the what?
I think there's an animal there, like
Yeah.
it's sitting on a box or something. You
Um,
have to remember, I'm about-
Toy.
I'm not seeing an animal.
Hello?
Green guy behind the box. I'm over here.
Behind the box?
I don't know. I'm 3/4 blind, don't forget.
I really don't know. I don't see does anybody else see an animal?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yes,
not.
it looks like.
It's
Looks like it could be a dog, but
It's a green alien dog.
One thing I think I can say with some assurance, even though I don't see an animal, I can see some, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. I think, the picture is not really in focus there.
You see it right here.
It could be. I can assure you that it is not a tiger.
Charlie, if it's a dog, it might be
Long-eared
hiding.
dog.
Okay, Okay, we have some zoologists in our midst, and it has been definitively identified as a dog.
I don't
Another typical scene of the village. I have a series of pictures here, which I have labeled things you can do with straw.
Mm.
Bobby will like that. There are many things you can do with ice straw in this case. And this is a very nice scene. Kind of, I love the way it's laid out. And it's straw all the way up and down, straw all the time. And it's a beautiful thing. Straw is, one of the big resources that people use. Here's another use of straw. Make a fence, make a gate. So here's the fence around the house with the gate, and there's the roof, and something you can do with straw.
But Charlie, aren't those sticks and
Yes,
things not straw?
yes, not, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not just straw. There are other things besides straw. One thing that, though, that there should be said, that should be pointed out, is that it's all natural. No, engineered or machined pieces of metal of any kind. It's all quite natural, using the materials ready at hand in the natural environment. One of which is, by the way, straw.
Right, all right.
Charlie,
Yes, sir.
my wife asked, were there homeless people there or itinerant?
No, nobody's really homeless. There were people that are on the edge of homelessness. There were some people who were extremely poor and didn't have nearly enough to eat, and were able to find shelter by the good graces of the villagers who put them up, and or for little or no rent. But there was nobody who didn't have a place to live. Here's another, by the way, and this is a good question, Richard, because this is an important point about village life, and that is everybody takes care of everybody. Nobody's going to starve. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to suffer from an illness without anybody trying to do everything they can to mitigate the illness. Whatever hard times one might have, the other villagers are going to try to help out as best they can. There's one of the things that you heard often that people say to one another is "Kachi sarayanda." We have to live together. We all live together, and that's a very important part of village life and village mentality.
Thank you.
Here's another thing you can do with straw. What is this man doing?
He's closing up the bag? Or is he still making the bag?
He's sewing a bag. What sort of a bag?
Bags.
Rice.
Yeah, right, exactly. Do anybody remember what they're called? Rice bags?
No, but they look like they're white plastic these days.
Right.
This is not white plastic. They're called kamani. Kamani.
Amani?
Kamani. And the main measure of rice traditionally is 1 kama, a kama. And a kama of rice is the amount that goes into one of these bags, a kamani. So a rice bag, a kamani, is always the same size. And it's made to specification. And in the old days, and even during the time that we were there, that was an important means of, what's the word, barter, but something that people use to measure measure,
Measurement?
The medium of
to
exchange.
measure,
Medium
it's
of
like money, source, I can't, it's a very. I'm
Standardized, standardized.
Standardized, yes.
Medium of exchange.
Medium of exchange, that's right. It's a way of designating it's like money, or it's very much equivalent to money.
Wealth, wealth.
Legal tender.
Yeah, well, that's not the word, but all these are right. Those are all right words, but not the word I'm searching for. And you would all know what it is if I were able to think of it. But it's equivalent to money.
Medium of exchange. Let's try that.
Medium of exchange. It is a medium of exchange, and it is every bit as legitimate as the legal tender. Well, that's not exactly it either, but it is every bit as legitimate as the one
note.
and it is respected as that by the villagers, and often people are paid. So if you hire somebody to work for you for a period of time, their compensation might be 2 kamani, 3 kamani of rice, 3 kama. So kama is the is the medium of exchange. That's how you measure value. And this is the main vehicle, or the main container. Those of you who have gone to Korean markets, and I'm sure you all have, they have these standard measures. They have different kinds of scoops and that are standardized. A tray of sesame. You go and you say, I'll have 1 tray, and 1 tray is a standardized scoop, and it's the same everywhere. And or I'll have 1 kama of rice. So these are legal tender and universally recognized. Something you can do with straw. Here's something else you can do with straw. What's happening here?
Why?
Be burning it?
No, this is
Making shoes.
Rope.
this is there are not many of these in the village, but not many people have one of these machines.
Making rope.
That's right. That's right. They're making rope. This is the sekitul. And what you do is you have your strands of straw. This is all straw. You see it's stretching out into the distance there, and you wind it around and around, and it makes straw rope. Sekitul.
How the hell does the thing work?
Well, there's a crank. He has his hand.
Yeah.
His right hand is on a crank.
Yeah.
And it's bringing in the rope. It's coming in. It's on like a pulley, or like a fishing rod, fishing reel. It's on a reel. It's a reel, and it brings the rope in, and it twists it into a good sturdy rope.
Oh, I see. They're 2 thin strands, and then he twists those into a thicker
Correct.
rope. Okay.
Here's another thing you can do with straw.
And those.
You'll never guess what this is.
I will.
Not in a million years. Bobby, go for it.
The place for silk cocoons.
My God, Bobby. You're right. You're right. I'm flabbergasted. Very good. Somebody give that lady a prize.
No, I mean they're on display in old houses here too.
Okay. Have you seen them in action, Bobby?
No.
Okay. Okay. That is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. And this man it's a kind of loom, really, in which you feed the straw in, and you create these, if you look at the, on the left-hand side, you'll see that it's kind of indentations. And in each of those little places, a silkworm weaves its cocoon.
There were komushin that we could see there too.
Yeah,
There.
but that's not straw. Yeah,
No, but I wish I had a whole bunch of pairs of them.
yeah. Well, this is the common shoes that everybody wore in those days, as you know. So here's a front.
They do make sandals out of straw, but they're for the death messenger
Right.
in a death rite.
That's right. That's right. And we'll be seeing some of that, by the way. Here's something else you can do with straw. You can build a house.
Yes, very important.
Very important. Of course, it's not only straw. A lot of it is mud and timber that's been cut down from the local trees. But it's all completely materials that are found in the surrounding environment. None of it is brought in from elsewhere. None of it is ordered from Amazon. It's all local.
Question about the walls. Do they ferment the earthen part of it before they use it, or they just use it straight?
They use it straight up.
They don't ferment.
Straight, no chaser. And they, of course, they let it dry. It has to dry.
It has what?
Dry. It dries.
Dry. Yeah, of course.
It's mud. It's mud,
Yeah.
Bob. And
I know it's mud. My house is too. But
okay, well then you know
here-
what it's like.
okay, I know.
You
But,
know.
but listen.
Does anybody know the story of the three little pigs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of them made their house of mud.
Charlie, yeah, I know. Charlie, listen.
Okay.
In Japan, for our what you call mud walls, the earth is they mixed with straw and fermented for a period of
Well,
half a
they
year.
do. They do that there too. It's not just pure unadulterated mud. It is
Right.
mixed
It is mixed
to
with
give it
straw.
to give it
fermented.
extra strength and stability.
Yeah. But
That's,
is it fermented over a period of time?
I would not. I don't believe so.
Because that makes it more viscous and it holds
No,
up much
I
better.
don't. I've seen it made, and people. You see the shovel, and people just dig up some soil and throw it into a vat and put in some water and some straw, and they stir it all up, and then they apply it to the walls.
Okay.
Here's another scene of house building, and they're putting on a tile roof. And
Tiles have to be purchased.
that's true. What's happening here?
Undul.
Ondol. They're making an ondol floor. That's right.
No.
And what's happening here?
Making a tige.
Indeed, this man is making a tige, and he's making it from scratch. He went into the woods and he found some trees and some branches that looked like they would serve the purpose well, and he cut them down to size, and now he's making his tige. Here's another scene, another view of him. And here's another. You can see the tool that he's using. Ed Baker knows a lot about tools.
It's a site.
And he will
The draw knife, I
yeah.
think.
And you will notice that this is not like a Stanley tool or anything like that. This is just something very traditional.
He's also cutting toward himself.
Pardon me?
He's also cutting toward himself, isn't he?
Yes.
You shave the wood down by drawing this toward you.
Yes, he doesn't have a plane.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's not This is not, he doesn't use a plane or anything like that. It's just a simple blade. And he is very skilled at it. And here are some village ajumanis, and they're, what do you think they're making? Boil, toil and trouble.
Witches?
They're making, no, they're not witches. They're making
Witches.
They're making tubu.
Ah.
Making what?
Tubu.
Oh, yeah.
Tofu.
Yep.
And I think this needs no explanation. You all know what that is.
Laundromat.
Washing the fish.
And here's another. Looks like fun.
Especially in the winter.
And now we're going to come into a series of pictures that show the activities that people engage in to make a living. And of course, the primary activity is agriculture. And here we are in a paddy field. And at the time that we were living there, they had just begun to get a couple of tillers, gasoline powered tillers, but I think there was one in all of Yangji, and maybe just one in all of Umji for that matter. I mean, a couple of families who had relatively a lot of money invested in those, but the vast majority of people could not afford that and did not use that. And this was the tiller that they used, a living tiller. And I'm sure you've all seen scenes like this in travels. Here they are sowing the rice seed. These are all very familiar sights. Here they are pulling up the seedlings to be transplanted. And now they are transplanting. This is really hard work. I tried it myself and I couldn't last more than 10 minutes.
Me too.
Back-breaking work. I don't know how they could do it. I don't know how they did it. As you notice, the lines, and you're probably all aware of this, the lines of transplanted seedlings are all very even and straight. And that's because they run a string, across, and they plant, and that guides the positioning of the seedlings.
Question, can I ask a
Charlie,
question?
excuse me, could I, Charlie?
Yes, sir.
It's just about 25 after.
Okay, I have a thought.
Okay. How about,
that-
let me suggest something.
Okay.
How about we give you an hour for the next session and you can edit them? And
I will. You know what? I think this is going real well. I'm not going to edit them. If you don't want to come, it's up to you. But I'm going to just keep going.
I love them all.
You mean for like 6 or 7 hours, Charlie?
Whatever it takes. It's up to you.
I agree. This is absolutely fascinating. I'm just fascinated with every
If you
single.
want to drop out, that's fine. I'm not I won't be hurt. But
Go for it.
I'll tell you something. I'm enjoying myself.
Good.
So am I.
And I'm really enjoying sharing this with you. And-
Okay, could you stop the share for a second so we can?
Well, let me just finish what I was going to say. There are about 3 or 4 more shots that will finish this rice planting part of it. So what I'm going to propose is that we do those and then we stop.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Go
Yes.
for it, Charlie.
Good,
Go
good,
for
good.
it.
Okay. So we will hurry through that. Actually, this is not rice planting. This is the dry field, but you can see how they're using draft animals to plow the dry fields as well. And now here they are harvesting
With sickles.
with sickles, exactly. Here's some ladies who are helping out in one of the dry fields. I was going to say a few words about this scene because there's some interesting things that you would probably like to know. Maybe we'll come back to it next time.
It's good. It's here.
Pardon me? These
Well, I
ladies,
would like-
these ladies are all hired help for the day.
Ah,
And there's some interesting bits of information behind that, which we can get into the next time. And this is people taking a break. And what happens a couple times throughout the day is makgeolli is a staple. Is
oh my gosh, makgeolli.
You got to have makgeolli when you're taking a break. You know.
But I always noticed it was always the men that took the break.
Well, that's not. That's you know what? You're not right about that.
I'm not?
Women also take the break.
Well.
And in our village, it was called se. Taking a break is called se, which is local dialect for the word sai. You know, remember the word sai, which means the what.
Well, now we know what those women were gossiping about.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay, can we take a break now, Charlie?
almost done.
I have a question.
Taking a break. Here we are. Sheaves, flailing.
Flailing was really interesting.
Flailing. Here we are.
That's beans.
We are. What's the word?
Threshing, I think.
Threshing. Getting all of the grain and putting it into commony, and taking it to market, to the cooperative to be sold. Notice that on the top, the slogan "Sungong Bang Chap," which means let's defeat communism and watch out for spies. And that will about do it for today.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
Oh,
That
thank
was
you.
great. That was great.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. I am really enjoying this too, but but I think some people would like to sort of put a limit. There's some possibilities here. We could do a separate session. In other words, set up a session.
Frank, here's what I propose to do. We'll set a time, whatever, and I'll just continue. And those who would like to come can come, and those who don't can.
Well, I think, Charlie, this is my opinion. We maybe should discuss this privately, but I think that there ought to be opportunities for breakout rooms too. So I'm saying the next session, how about we give you an hour, and then we can at least have a breakout session, and maybe we can.
That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everyone else?
Yes.
Yes, provided we allow Charlie to go on through all of this.
So it's up to Charlie whether he wants to edit.
I'll do as much as I can. I'll do as much as we can, and we can leave it at that. Or if people are interested in moving on from there, we can have another session.
And there are other possibilities. The possibility would be we could have excuse me.
I don't really see what the problem is continuing, and people who want to attend can, and people don't have to.
Okay, but like I say, why don't we let Charlie do another hour next time, and then we can either have him continue, or we can set up a special session on perhaps the next Saturday, for a couple hours of Charlie.
Whatever you like.
I'll let the group decide that. But why don't we? Okay, so 2 weeks from today, we'll do an hour of Charlie and do a breakout room. And then I'll figure out how to vote here and we'll vote, what to do for the following session. I think we have somebody scheduled tentatively, but we can look into that.
It's very tentative. Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. That was really.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
I believe I have recorded it. And if it goes well, I'll ask Charlie if it's okay to share the recording?
Of course.
Okay, well, I've already asked him. It's okay. So, well, let me make sure that it was recorded correctly. Anyone else have any comments you want to make before we call it a day?
Yeah, tune in for Ed Baker next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And I really appreciated last week. I appreciated you, Ned, and Okyo. That was really awesome. Thank you.
What is that? That's the Korea Society, Asia Society? What is it? Ned?
It's about the volume that a number of us have put together. And the other couple of days ago, I was on with Okpyo, and next week on Thursday will be Ed and a few other Peace Corps volunteers talking about their experiences and how it helped develop Korean studies. And I think, as I mentioned before, if you read this, you can also see some pictures of Charlie in 1972-73 from the village, because Okpyo had taken some pictures of him. And it would be hard to recognize Charlie today based upon what we saw in 1972, but that's a story for all of us.
That is the story for all of us.
Okay, could you send the link? Maybe Diane could send the link out again for that.
Diane has sent it out.
Okay, I'll check the.
She has.
Okay, well, great.
I would like to
Any
get
other
a copy.
comment?
I missed that link. Please follow up for those of us who are slow or careless, if you possibly can. I would really like to see that.
And let's thank our guests, Dick Wiley, and our two anthropologist professor guests. Thanks for attending.
Thank you for letting a K3 sit in.
Wow.
It was a struggle to get you in. Dick.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. It was great.
Bye, Bonnie.
Good to see you all.
Bye, Alan.
Thanks, guys.
Buddy.
Have a good one.
Happy Hanukkah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Try to get.
See you, Ed.
Hi, Frank.
Hello, Sharon.
How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Professor Kim. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Are you in Korea right now?
Yes, yes. I'm locked out.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Where are you?
Well, I'm in Seoul. I teach on the military bases for the University of Maryland.
Oh, I see.
May I ask Opio a question? Is she still on? Your wife?
Well, Pio. You're
Oh,
the
there
boss.
she is. I have a
Not-
question.
Yes. Go
Hello.
ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
I listened to your session last week. Thank you very much. But could you please explain to me again what I want to really understand what you were saying about the negativity that people might have. I'm not sure I understood that, and I want to understand what your point was. Do you remember?
Yes, yes, I do.
Do you mind explaining it to me? I'm sorry.
What I was trying to make the point is that those who came to Korea 70s, 60s, they have a tendency to regard the ruling government was evil thing. They are oppressive. They are lots of violence, and many of us who were students at that time were sympathized with them. I mean, we were all very negative against Park Chung-hee regimes and the government who succeeded it. What I was trying to make is that the current affairs in Korea is showing a different picture. The government who has been in opposition in 60s, 70s, 80s, who's been what we call leftist, progressive, who are on the good side. What they are doing, what we really feel is that they are, with their own ideologies and everything, they seem to be destroying what we have been achieving, what we have been accumulating by the sacrifices of former generations, our generation, our parents' generation. What is happening nowadays is not really good, democratic, freedom. I mean, so what I was just raising questions that the perspective we have about good and evil, the those who were in the wrong side, were they really wrong sides? Because what we are enjoying these days are really the result of what dictatorship or whatever Park Chung-hee, they are trying to. There have been many sacrifices, many victims of those violence. But again, what is now happening? We are really, some people are really afraid that we are losing all this. So whether this is really good thing for the people, whether dialogue with China, dialogue with North Korea is the only thing we are seeking for. What we are, I mean, the government, I mean, lots of things happening in this Korea these days. The contemporary political manipulation of class differences, antagonism, hostility. I feel that it is exaggerated, it is sort of manipulated to set people against to each other. Do you know what I mean? And that is one of the words I have. So what I'm questioning the kind of dualistic perspective we had of that seemed very straightforward in the past is really not seem so nowadays. So how we understand these things, how we perceive and represent as an outsider, you are the outside observers, how you feel, how we understand the recent development in Korea. That is rather complicated issues I was trying to make.
Right.
Professor Moon, is there a recording available of that? Was
Sorry?
it recorded?
I think yes, if you ask the KEI, the Korea Economic Institute, by the Kathleen Stevens.
Yeah, sure. I'll check the lookout and see.
It was really very interesting. And I mean, I know people of our generation, and I know my Korean, how hard life was, how much people, how hard people work. My Korean mother, I should send you, started an orphanage down on Kojedo.
Yes.
Ekwangwon, Kojedo, and the beginnings were just like what he was showing us. She started it in the Korean War, and I know how tough life was for people, and I know Park Chung-hee. I remember people saying, "Oh, Park Chung-hee was so bad," but look what we have here because of what he did, because of
exactly. Yes.
And today, I don't know how you feel. I mean, Frank, you live there, and just K-pop and plastic surgery, and there's so many wonderful things with technology. But I know, I think it must make some people sad, because where has your culture gone?
I guess, that sounds, I'm going to listen to that. It sounds very, very interesting. It seems to me that there's like two different issues. Like one issue is the debate about Park Chung-hee, and how much of that dictatorial, his way, how much of that was necessary for development. And then I guess the second issue is what's going on right now. And between the progressives and the conservatives, and those are two really, and of course they're connected, but I'm not sure how.
Yes. So we are really saddened in a way, because although you mentioned this K-pop and very nice things on the surface, but we were somehow losing the underneath cultural strength, the spiritual strength we had. We sustained the Korean society for so many years. and sustained and helped us to overcome the poverty, the misery, the insecurity. I mean, we've been achieved a lot. I think our generation and our parent generation has achieved a lot, but it seems so I mean, all the values, all the foundations we had are seem to be under threat.
So do you
And
think,
we-
Professor Moon, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the original
Well, this
recording.
is a better
but-
explanation though, so it's great.
Yes,
Thank you
because
for
we
that.
are only given very few
Oh.
minutes, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you didn't
Are-
have very long. Thank you.
So are you sort of critiquing the Minjudang's approach to China and North Korea and think that that it's going overboard?
well, in a way, I think I'm skeptical about whether they are really working for the good of the people and the future of the people. I don't know whether they really have very clear ideas what they are heading for. It seems like to me what Minjudang or what is happening is that just to sustain their power in the regime. It's not Kim Jong-il, despite all the bad things we talk about, that he has certain faith that what he's doing. He believes in what he's working for the people, for the country to overcome the poverty and all those things. So, I mean, during the late years, there's a lot of things that can be criticized, but he has achieved a lot. That's we should agree, and I'm frightened in a way by the current affairs are heading for. Really, and many people, many of our generation, what it is what they call conservative or whatever you call it, but we were all liberals in the 80s, you know. We were all we all taught students, we communicated students, we sympathized with them, but what the current affairs are really frightens many of us in our generation.
That's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
husband
you know,
agree with you? Does your husband agree with you?
Let's ask. Yes, he's
on that, maybe not on everything, but on that.
Especially from my experience with China. I think our country
he's been in
is going toward the China.
Uh-huh.
So this is not the progressive, not the fight between the progressive and the conservative. It's fight between the socialist and capitalist, I must say. Yeah.
Wow.
He's been observing China for so long. So
yeah, I know that's what Charlie said. Right. Anyway, after this virus passes, I'd really like to meet the two of you. You know,
yes.
I'd like to buy you dinner sometime, get to know you.
Oh, can I come?
Yes, of course.
I'm in Colorado.
Yeah, so there'll be no quarantine in the future. You can come.
Nice to talk to you.
Sometime, friend.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to meet you. Okay, maybe you can come and talk to one of my classes someday.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get in touch.
Okay, good.
Good.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Thank you for taking that time. Thank you.
Professor
Yes,
Kim,
I'm trying to watch it.
if you could just put your email in the chat box, I'd have a way to get in touch with you in the future.
In the chatting, yes.
Yeah, in the chat box.
Yes.
Can you find it?
You can put it for everyone because it's just us.
Chatting, chatting. Okay.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna.
Just type in the bottom where it says type message here.
Did you see it? Can you see it?
Oh yeah, K-O.
K-O-K-I Kim.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Okay, I am. Yes. ACKR.SNU.
at
ACKR. Oh,
I can,
yes. 오케이, ACKR. 여기 밑에 채팅을 눌러봐요. 채팅 밑에.
채팅을
yeah, we have it.
so
Okay.
and
No?
and that is to Professor Kim, not to you, Professor Moon.
Yes,
But it
it's
will come
mine.
to you. And if I want to write you, Professor Moon, it'd be the same one.
No, I'll give you mine.
Okay. We girls, you know.
I know.
OON.
Oh,
Okay,
there we go.
Okay. Kwangok has missed C, ACKR.
AKS dot
Yes.
AK
Oh,
dot.
I missed C.
Okay.
Okay,
I-
okay. They've got it. Okay.
We have both of them. Wow.
Okay.
Oh, SNU at, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have both of
ACKR.
them.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for joining, and Charlie didn't give you much of a chance to talk.
Right,
You know,
right.
so maybe in the future you can come and join us again on Zoom and talk to us about Korean anthropology.
Well, Frank, maybe, I don't know if you all can come next time, but yeah, I would really love that. It was Frank's show tonight. Charlie's show, but you were here and we would have, I'm sure people would have loved to have heard your perspectives and your experiences too. So
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
we'll talk to Charlie about that.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
again. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Bye, Frank. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.